Well, the Godzilla franchise has five different series. The Showa series, the first one. The second one is the Heisei series. The third one is the Millennium series. The fourth one is the MonsterVerse, and the fifth one, and current one, is the Reiwa series. Out of all those series, the Heisei series is the most hated of them all. And you're gonna be confused, like, what? Isn't the Heisei series considered the best series of them all? Back then it was, but now there's lots of people who don't like the Heisei series. So when did this all come from? Well, back then there were people who loved the Heisei series, and they agreed that they were the best Godzilla series of them all. And then in 2013, in 2015, a YouTuber named Kaiju no Kami spread out, made Godzilla reviews, and he actually had unpopular opinions for the Heisei series, and that he didn't like them as much as other people. There were some people who did agree with him, but while the rest disagreed with him, but still respected his opinion. But even then, he wasn't acting all that butthurt to the Heisei series. He doesn't hate them. He just isn't a big fan of them. And then a new YouTuber came. No, three other YouTubers came. Blue Nova, Kieto Kano, and Sam, the Geigen fan. They spreaded their unpopular opinions on the Heisei series, but they didn't just spoke about their unpopular opinions of the Heisei series. They treated their opinions of the Heisei series like facts, and they said that they were objectively bad. And then ever since then, people thought that the Heisei series were objectively bad, and now people don't like those movies anymore. There's a lot of stupid claims about why the Heisei era sucks. One of them is the one of them was well, okay, how about, okay, wait, never mind. Most of the criticisms from the Heisei series were from, well, the beam spams and the monsters being too bulky. While that is an understandable criticism, the others, while those are understandable criticisms, there are others that are more stupid, like how Godzilla changed from a bad guy to good guy in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. They said that this version of Godzilla sucked because he turned into a good guy. I mean, a bad guy to a good guy. But how come? But there's many movies. There's many movies out there where a bad guy turns into a good guy, like King, like in Star Wars: Return of the Jedi, and many are, and many, um, Ice Age. Let's see, Emperor's New Groove. Many more. Hell, even the Showa Godzilla series, turned Godzilla from a bad guy to a good guy. And yet, why do those movies get a pass for turning bad guys into good guys? Yet the Heisei series always gets shunned and ripped apart by fans. Another thing that they hate about the Heisei series is that Mickey cares for Godzilla, despite the fact that Godzilla's killed thousands of civilians ever since he attacked Japan in 1984. And yeah, that's another stupid criticism, because by that logic, Dr. Yamane from the original 1954 Godzilla is a terrible character, because despite the fact that that the original Godzilla has killed thousands of lives, he and and raised a son whose family was killed by Godzilla, he still cares for Godzilla. He still wants Godzilla to live. Yeah, no disrespect to that character. I like him, but why do people give Yamane a pass, and they don't? Yet they, yet they, yet they keep shouting out Mickey is overrated. Yeah. Also, also back to Godzilla being a sympathetic character in this series. People also criticize him for being that. So I guess that so I guess that King Kong so I guess that the 1933 Kong 1933, 1976 and 2005 Kong movies are horrible movies cuz Kong is a sympathetic character despite the fact that he's actually massacred and slaughtered people and caused chaos in New York City and that Ann Darrow or a different character and a different woman in 76 still care for Kong. Yeah. And yet, yeah, despite the fact that Kong was killing people and causing chaos in New York City, we're supposed to care for him. Yeah, that's another thing. Why do people give Kong a pass and yet they give Godzilla a pass? I mean, they give this version of Godzilla lots of hate. Another thing is that another thing that's very stupid is that people complain these movies for being too action packed, when in reality they're not. I also hate the fact that people complain about Godzilla's design in the Heisei series, saying that he's too chubby, and they're saying that that this version of Godzilla is overrated because he's too chubby. That's another poor excuse since there are many other Godzilla because there are other Godzilla incarnations like Shin Godzilla, Legendary Godzilla, Godzilla Earth, and Godzilla Ultima that actually have huge thunder thighs and huge thick ass bodies than Heisei Godzilla. And how come those? And again, people give those Godzillas a pass, and yet they still criticize the Heisei Godzilla. And here's another thing. What I find very odd is that most of the people who don't like the Heisei series actually enjoy every other Godzilla series. Again, with the exception of the Heisei series. It's not a bad. No, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's just a fact, and I like to call them fanboys in denial. Yeah, you want to know something? People even say the Heisei Godzilla movies are worse than all than the 1998 Godzilla movie, All Monsters Attack, and even say that it's worse than the anime trilogy. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, people. Oh, yeah, no, and no matter how many times people will defend the Heisei series, like giving out like whenever someone defends the Heisei series, like giving legitimate good points of why they don't deserve the hate they get, the Heisei haters attack them for saying that they're underrated. And heck, fans will start saying that fans will start saying that then you must hate the anime trilogy because there were no monster fights. When did they ever say or mention the anime trilogy? And what does it have to do with the Heisei series? They always say that. And people sometimes people criticize Final Wars and King of the Monsters for being a tribute to the Heisei series. And again, that's incorrect. if they were a tribute to the Heisei series, the monsters wouldn't move as fast. They wouldn't be having physical combat. And there would not be any beam spams. If anything, the Godzilla PS4 game is a tribute to the Heisei series. Okay, I'm not saying I like King of the Monsters, because I don't. But I do love Final Wars. And again, a lot of people like to criticize the Heisei series so much. And it's becoming too old and too tiresome. The Heisei series deserves more love. Now, and it's also my favorite era of Godzilla. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't hate the other Godzilla series. I like the Millennium series, but I like my number 3 favorites being against Mechagodzilla, GMK, and Final Wars. Well, I think Tokyo SOS and Godzilla 2000 are okay, and I thought Megaguirus was actually bad. But they are a complete step down from the Heisei series. And and they were most likely, aside from GMK against Mechagodzilla, they're just big dumb popcorn flicks. And they're just made as cash grabs to like after and they were just made for cash grabs because because the 1998 movie was terrible and that they wanted to give Godzilla uh, proper introduction to modern audiences. Now the Showa series, I used to hate the Showa series, but looking back, they're not that bad. So, in fact, the 60s Godzilla movies are actually some of the strongest. But I just don't like the fact that Godzilla was portrayed as Barney. Again, I'm okay with Godzilla becoming a redeemable villain, but don't market him like if he's Barney. Now, the MonsterVerse, I have mixed feelings for the MonsterVerse. I like I like the lore and the world building of the MonsterVerse. I I like the musical. I like the soundtracks for G14 and King of the Monsters. I also like the designs for Godzilla, Kong, King Ghidorah, and Rodan. I also I also think that the Mutos are a breath of fresh new air after seeing Rodan, Mothra, and Mechagodzilla and King Ghidorah so many times. And I thought the Skullcrawlers were worthy Kong villains. And I also liked Joe Brody, um, um, Hank Marlowe, Mark Russell, and Gia. And I also and I also thought that these movies were a great introduction to a worldwide audience after the 1998 disappointment. And and I also love the action scenes in Kong Skull Island and Godzilla vs Kong. But the problem is, most of the characters are underdeveloped, and the stories are very weak. And the CGI in G14 and King of the Monsters look shit. And that again, in G14 King of the Monsters, it's too dark to see what's going on in those movies. There's always like rain and clouds covering the sky. And and the tones and and the tones in the MonsterVerse is pretty inconsistent. And the tones change a lot. And the and what's another thing? And that there's a lot of plot holes in the MonsterVerse. But overall, I just think it's meh. Not horrible, but not great either. Now, the Reiwa series is the Godzilla series that I truly hate. And now the Reiwa series is the only Godzilla series that I truly hate. And 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 the best movie of the Reiwa series is Shin Godzilla, and I don't even like that movie. Now, while I did like, well, Godzilla's personality, persecution of the masses, and who will know, the CGI, I also liked. And while I did like how I did like the final battle, and I also liked how Godzilla was in agony. I actually did felt sorry for him. But the problem is, most of the characters aside from Rando, Yagachi, and Kayako in Person were pretty uninteresting. And I'm not a big fan of Godzilla's design in this movie. And also, this movie is too slow. I understand what this movie represents, but but I just but for me, I didn't personally care about it. And while I did like the sound, while the soundtrack is fine, the problem is not only they're just reusing other tracks from other Godzilla movies, but they're also using tracks from even Galleon. I mean, it's not. I mean, I don't find that surprising since Hideaki Ono, who made this movie, also made Evangelion. But overall, I just didn't care for Shin. Now, you all know my thoughts on the anime trilogy. Watch my rant video on those abominations. But overall, I don't hate the other Godzilla series. I just find the Heisei series the most underappreciated and my most favorite of them all. So, this is Godzilla 2005 signing off. And also, Blue Nova, F you.